Hello everyone and welcome back to another Elliott Waves on Cryptos. It's been nearly a month since the last video. Things are not too moving too fast anyway. So we have looked at BTC, of course, short-term. Mainly what has changed since the last video has been the short-term, of course, sort of structure. And this is what we're going to see here today. We're going to introduce revisit the previous counts and also introduce short-term variations, while we're also going to have a quick look on Quant, as that has been what the Core Inner Cycle team has voted for this video's analysis on Elliott Waves, which before we go into, of course, I just wanted to repeat that it's purely education and it doesn't constitute investment advice. So this is the main count. I suspect, ideally, actually, I would prefer to see this turning into an expanded flat, which means that wave B is unlikely done, because we're going to go in the short term and realize that we don't go above the 105 extension of that wave. Anyway, we'll look at it. So the ideal scenario for me would be up, down, and another 5-wave move up, and from there a decline. Ideal, why? Because we haven't yet seen a decent correction in primary wave B. Supposed, of course, that this is wave A. The only decent correction we can see, this is a 50% correction from bottom to top. So if that were an A, we could assume that this is a wave B that is respectable and follows guidelines. But then we will go into interpreting that leg to the upside from down here in a different ways, and we're going to do that, of course, in the variations. So let's not forget that in the longer term we are still in supercycle wave 4, in my opinion, and you know, when we complete this cycle wave, we are going to see further downside. Now there is different cases here, of course, and one of them would be for us to still be kind of in wave A. For example, maybe that would be something like of 1, 2, 3, 4. I will show you now, actually. Let's just do that quickly. But before we do, actually, let's just take things at one at a time. If we were to have this as wave A, wave B correction, ideal correction for me would be to come down around the 62. And between 38 and 62, which would perhaps open up 61.8 again, which is around 20k, and also previous wave 4, which is the typical corrections we see between a 4 and a B, a 4 and a 2, or other sort of corrective couples. So an alternate would be for this to be a W, X, and Y, with, of course, the expectation here pretty much being the same, or X wave is not done. But at the same time, let me tell you, that is an ended structure, and we have moved higher, and we have gone above the previous high as well. So the assumption is that because it's not too deep, it's very shallow, that we're not done, but we could easily have finished as well. So probabilities here are quite likely on both sides. An alternate, it's an ABC in wave B, cycle B, and in diagonal instead. Why I'm not really keen on this is because it doesn't have the right look. But if you look at this as an ABC and 2, ABC and 4, and ABC, that actually is going to be an ending diagonal, contracting ending diagonal, with wave 4 smaller than wave 2, and wave 3 smaller than wave 1, and wave 5 would have a limit in this particular case up to around 39.50. Why am I not really leaning towards that scenario, and it's an alternate, is because it doesn't have the right look for an ending diagonal. You see this line and these two lines, they look more like they diverge rather than they converge. So this is one of the issues. Another one is the double zigzag here as a W and X. The X is again a flat. In here though, I'm just looking at this in a different way. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, and it would be we could have essentially another ending diagonal here, or even an impulse. This can be considered both. Okay, the idea though, okay, it's going to start like losing a lot of momentum as an idea around the 39.65, which is the 261 extension. And of course, as you know, looking at this as a minor wave, all of this minor move and this minute move, which has the correction is actually lasting longer. It's not it's not the best thing we can expect as well. And then a W, X, and Y here, which means the low is in. Okay, for the low to be in, that would be potential a case where this is wave 1 and 2. 3, we would want to see an ABC as a running flat because we don't want the overlap with 1. For a 4 wave or a triangle, okay, either are possible. And then 5, and from there we correct and we continue higher. Of course, that is the most bullish case, not the most bullish count over here. We could easily say this is a 1, 2, and this is 1, 2, right? And we're going to go 3, 4, 5. That would be the most bullish count. But we're talking about now probabilities that they are quite likely rather than anything else, because I can present you like 15 counts, but most of them will have like a few percentages of a possibility to take place. Okay, now let me just take you to the short term a little bit. And I am looking at this as a wave A, as we said before. Okay, and ideally I would want to see this being an A, B, and C with a deep move to the downside. I would, as I said before, also expect to see a little bit further upside, although for now it seems to us like the top is in because we have a new high. It's hard to have this as a wave 4 because our wave 2 is very shallow and very quick. And this is an irregular wave B, so it can easily be truncated, if you know that the top is actually, one of the tops is at wave 3 here and the other one is at here. So we got it on. It's just the issue is that we don't go above 105 in one case. It's just the wave B here, so we don't go, and in the other wouldn't be the right way to do it. Of course, in the other we don't at all. In here we do kind of have a question open on whether this could be considered the end, and could be the case because we might be able to see this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and this is the only way for me where I would say, okay, we could have ended wave B, and maybe this is like a leading diagonal in 1 and a correction in 2, and we're going to see something like of a leading diagonal starting here and then further continuation, which would be possible considering how much we would prefer to go down given the fact that we haven't done a decent correction. Even though with A and B, we would have to have an extended wave C here around 2050 at 200%. And the thing is, and the truth is that if you find extended C waves, the most typical waves that you're going to find them in structures are expanded flats. So there is two kind of short-term variations here, guys, as you understood, right? One is that where we are now sees this as the end. The other one sees this as the end, and the other one is that I'm going to show you is that this is 1, 2, like 3, and something like of a 4 here, to be honest, and then we're going to get 5. But it has to be very quick. Okay, it has to be very quick because the extension of the duration of wave 4, it's gonna break some rules soon if it continues to go for a longer time. By the way, this, I don't really think it's some sort of triangle, but just keep in mind that we are supposedly correcting in wave 4, okay? And it can be anything. It can be anything. What does it look like and all that stuff? And short term is all speculation, guys. It's just, it's like a time where we'll just have to wait and see how things are going to pan out. The thing is that looks impulsive to the upside. The downside leg looks corrective. And even this leg to the downside, although we have had a big candle coming down, still looks corrective, okay? Because we have this ABC to deal with. That's why I was saying before, you know, you would have a leading diagonal here and then another leading diagonal starting over here. So it's a bit silly to assume that we have ended here. You understand? And in here, it's a bit more likely scenario. But then that brings into a question on whether we are still in 4 or not. So the other thing I wanted to show you is a variation in the short term, which assumes that wave B is done. But actually, I will give you another short-term count to explain something here. Look, we see this as a W, X, and Y. This means that low is in, and we're going to go higher and continue higher. Whether we get a correction or not is still irrelevant. We're just looking at the difference over here, which suggests that we're not going to go, of course, below 24K, or perhaps even 27. Okay, this is the idea here. In the medium term is quite different. But if that were the low to be in case, we would prefer, and most probably it's a case where wave A is down here and B is here, and this would be wave 1, guys. That's the reality here. Why, you might ask? Well, it's because if this is wave A and this is wave B would be only retracing 38%. It's not like it's impossible. It is possible. It's just that we have to prioritize some guidelines over others. Over here, we have a wave 2 correction, which would be more than 50%, which matches. Over here, we'll have a wave B correction, which comes down nearly 60%. So again, you know, we're playing between 60 and 30 here. And I would prefer to go 60 for wave B rather than 30. Because if it is 30, and this is the truth, there will be also more chances that the low is in. Because when you get corrections in wave B that they are, or in wave 2, or any wave that they are shallow, it means that the expectation, actually no, in waves 2 rather than waves 4, and in waves B, when they are shallow, that indicates, of course, that momentum to the upside is going to take prices further out. That's why the Fibonacci extension as well. Of course, when you're going to put it on 30 or 60, you know, you have a higher target versus a lower target. So that's the idea here. This is why, because I just like to prioritize guidelines based on where they typically end. Yeah, no, wave B is between 38 and 62, but you're not going to see it more times on 38. You're going to see it more times closer to 50. Actually, the 50 is the most typical between the three. Then the 62 is the second, and then the 38 is the third. So this is primarily the reason I'm going for 1-2. That would be a 1-2 case. So that is all for BTC, guys, to be honest. Okay, and maybe it's not clear which one is main, which not, but I'm pretty sure it is. But also, let's not forget the main is pretty much at this stage based on ideal main. Okay, and if, structurally speaking, with ending structures, the wave B is supposed to be in here. But started with an ABC going down, it's a bit of a hard case to assume or to really follow that idea. You know what I mean? Now, when it comes to QNT, now on the 12 hour, we have two main counts here, guys. In both cases, we are just like doing primary wave 4. In the other, actually in one, in the other, we finished. This is an ABC for W, this is an ABC for X, and this is an A. We're going to get a B if we haven't finished, and then we're going to get another wave to the downside. Has to go below 41. Imagine this. Now, in this case, of course, maybe W and X, and we might get A, B, C, D, and E, and we go all the way up. It's just that what I don't like here is that what are you going to get? A descending triangle in a predominantly downward market in a double 3 wave Y? I've never seen this, so it's not much likely. So the case I would see maybe W and X, that would be A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C for Y, and then go up. So that would be the case where we don't need to go below W, right? Or if wave Y ended up being running flat, with a wave C, of course, will be truncated. The other case is for this particular difference here. This is still an ABC, but wave 4 is done. This is still an ABC, but instead of X is the beginning of a leading diagonal. This would be A, B, and C potentially for the short-term variation, of course, being possible for both scenarios that we are looking, right? It's just that, you know, I like to present things at the same time sometimes. So that would be an ended move, which means that we're going to go higher. But then go and ask yourself, this looks quite corrective in here. We're going to see that in the short term. So I think it's hard for that to be already the case, but I will show you how it could be the case. If this is valid, by the way, guys, okay, look, we have done a correction from we have done a correction from wave 1 down to around the 70%, which is perfect for an ending diagonal correction wave 2. So it will be something like this, leading diagonal, sorry. So we'll have a leading diagonal, a leading diagonal in quant at this stage, I'm going for the 5th wave, that would really be very bullish, okay, very bullish. We're not just looking for a duplication to 430, we're going to be looking at 1,500, 2,000 even. So back to the main though, and on Earth. Let me show you here what I was saying before, okay, and why I don't think that's the case, regardless of X or W, but anyway, the main is W, X, and Y here because of the very clear ABC here. ABCs are corrections. We're not supposed to expect first a diagonal. So you got the A, and you got A, B, and C here potentially, and then we're gonna get Y, the C of Y. I am not really liking the fact that a smaller degree move is lasting that long, but we are in a wave big correction, so it can last as long as it wants. It doesn't really matter. This is mainly an A and C thing to compare. So A, B, C, A, B, C, kind of down here, or W, X, and Y, and then A, B, C would have a triangle here, and then we continue lower, which it's gonna get us below the target that we're looking for. If we suppose wave B ends around here, you know, it's getting us around 30, who knows, even lower. But the first idea would be to assume a running flat first, or just a typical flat. Because this has come down all the way to the bottom. So even if this is a leading diagonal, as we said, but we don't really support that case, it could end up being just a simple ABC correction for, you know, a triangle wave. So even if we do see this turning out being a leading diagonal, I repeat, it doesn't necessarily mean we finished here and we're going up. It means that it could even be an ABC. So the extension of A and B, or 1 and 2, are going to tell us what the chances are leaning towards for. So, yeah, it could also be the ending diagonal we were looking before. So I'm afraid it's not really a case that, you know, we can really see much or do much, because it's very volatile. Look, for example, from the low here, we have done an ABC, right? And then we have done something like of an A. That looks like a B. Maybe we're going to do a C, but maybe we're going to go even lower down because we're still in wave B. You know what I mean? So we can go literally go anywhere, guys. Where we are right here, we can go anywhere. Because if this is an ABC and it's going to turn out, for example, being a flat, for now it's a regular flat, but it can turn out irregular by simply going down all the way to 67. Then we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we stop, a running flat. If we continue, an expanded flat. And then down. So you can imagine, like, the probabilities right now are just dispersed. It's just all over the place with this medium-term structure, right? So it Kind of looks like a very nice ending diagonal here, but not exactly the right look. But it looks more likely a case where this is a double bottom, you know, meaning that a flat for me would be a more likely scenario. And I repeat, I would even suspect a bit more downside from here, ideally, to get rid of this corrective structure moving to the upside. We want to see clear structures, not for any other reason, because we prefer to go with these things that give us clear signs rather than with something that we have to kind of gamble. You know, if we don't see impulse and we see corrections, we know that, well, this is still part of the predominant trend and it's just simply retracing some downward move in this particular case. So I hope this video has been helpful. You can like and share if it has been, and don't forget to leave your questions. I try to make myself available to help you as much as I can. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again maybe sooner next time.